Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over my March bullet journal setup. But first, just a reminder to like and subscribe to my channel if you like this video and want to see more. So for my March journal, I wanted to do a watercolor cover page, and I don't have a watercolor notebook, so I have this paper and I used my paper cutter to cut it into a smaller size to stick into my journal. And then I'm just using some washi tape that I had to tape it down to my surface and get ready to paint. So I have this palette here and a watercolor pen, and I'm just going to put a few drops on all the blue, kind of purple watercolor colors that I have. And the goal here is to do kind of like a cloud and golden moon theme. So first I'm going to just use a thicker watercolor brush and get my paper nice and wet, and then I'm just going to tap a bunch of different blue and purple colors on the page. There isn't really any rhyme or reason to it, just I wanted to get a bunch of different colors blended in there. So whatever colors you have, just go ahead and tap them on. Every once in a while, use your larger brush to make the paper more wet. And once it's all dried, mine ended up like this, and I'm just going to use a circle ruler to make a moon, and then I have this gold liquid leaf paint that I'm going to use to color in the crescent moon shape. So I'm just going to go in with this is the smallest paintbrush that I had, and I'm just going to go in with the paintbrush and fill in the moon until it's completely full. Now, because this is my cover page, I want to make sure that the word March is on there, so I'm just sketching out the word March with a pencil, slightly erasing it so that the pencil doesn't get caught underneath the paint. And I'm using a white Archer and Olive acrylograph marker to just fill that in with March. Now, using some washi tape, I'm just going to tape it into my journal. You can put some tape on the back too to make it stick, or if you have any permanent adhesive, you can put that on the back as well. But I got these new grid washi tape, so I use these a lot throughout my setup. Now for my monthly layout, I'm going to use a 0.3 pigment marker to create like an outline so that each page is its own box, and enclosed will be a calendar. So I'm just making the outlines with my pigment liner and a ruler. I got this new glass dip pen for Valentine's Day, so I'm going to use it with some black ink that I have to write out March. So first you're just going to do some calligraphy, and it's basically faux calligraphy. So you're just going to do some cursive, and then on every downstroke, while you were writing that out, when you made a downstroke, you're going to make that line a bit thicker so that it looks like calligraphy. So I did that for March, and then at the bottom I did that for the days of the weeks and the goals and the tasks. I like using different sizes. So for the numbers, I used a smaller size. I believe it was 0.1 to do the numbers. And then, like I said earlier, for the goals and the tasks for March, I'm using my glass dip pen to write in goals and tasks just like I did in March. On the right side, I like to do a line of numbers corresponding to the calendar. So if I have an event coming up on either of these days, I'm just going to write it in on the line for that date. And then also in the top right corner, I wanted to put a little something that was reminiscent of the theme. So I tried to use some different watercolor markers that I have to create like a watercolor moon picture that like I have on my cover. It was a little difficult just because, like I said, this wasn't a watercolor journal, so I should have done it on some watercolor paper instead, because it did end up bleeding through just because it's not watercolor paper. But overall, because it bled through, it doesn't bother me, and I still think it looked nice. So that's it for the monthly calendar. And now for my first week, I'm going to do some horizontal rectangles. I do a line and then 7 spaces and another line, and just make enough boxes for the days of the week. And the last one I combined for Saturday and Sunday. So I'm just using a 0.3 pigment liner to make those lines, and then I have a stencil to make some circles, and these circles are going to end up being like the cycles of the moon. So I'm using this gold paint marker that I've been using this whole time, and just filling in the circles for the different cycles, the different phases of the moon. Now for all my layouts, I'm going to use a 0.3 pigment liner to write the days of the week on the corresponding lines and boxes for each layout. So I'm just writing the days of the week on the side of these boxes, and then I'm using a blue metallic gel pen to write in the numerical days for this layout, and I'll use it to do some labels as well. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that I like putting my trackers on the same layout. So every week I put a tracker, that way I don't forget to do them. So I'm just writing a line. I do kind of like bar graphs, so I'm just laying out the days of the week, and then I have a sleep and a mood tracker, so I fill those in, and I'll fill them up to whatever line for whatever day, however I'm feeling, or what my sleep was, etc. And then all these little circles that I'm drawing, if you view them as lines, there's 7 circles for 7 days of the week, and I will write in different tasks that I want to do that week and circle in the circles for when I do them, and then I have my to-do list. And just to class it up and fill in some space, I'm going to put some washi tape throughout the layout as well. For my second week, I'm going to do the same horizontal boxes that I did before, but just a slightly different design. So you're going to need some washi tape and a 0.1 pigment liner to make the design at the top. So I'm using this brown washi tape, and I'm going to take a piece and rip it in half just so that they're a bit skinnier and look nicer, I think, for how I laid this out. So I'm just taking pieces of the washi tape and cutting them in half and putting them at the very top. And then I'm going to use my 0.1 pigment liner to draw some branches. I saw this design on Pinterest, so I got some inspiration from Pinterest for this weekly layout. So I'm just going to draw some different leaves and branches for all the days of the week, and then I'll get out my gold marker again and do some crescent moons on the top as well. then to switch it up a bit, I'm just going to use a thicker pigment liner to draw in the days this time instead of the gel pen, and I did this for the rest of my layouts as well, so I just used a thicker marker to put the days next to the moon and the branches. And then just as before, exactly as before, I'm putting in all of my trackers as well. For the third week, I went to a horizontal design, so it'll be the same spacing. So I'm going to draw a line, count 7 boxes, and then draw another line, and keep repeating until I have enough boxes for each day of the week, and combining Saturday and Sunday together. So once again, I always use a 0.3 marker whenever I'm doing my outlines of boxes like this. And then similar to the first week, I'm going to draw a circle, and really I kind of combined the first 2 weeks because I'm going to do a moon with my gold marker, and then I'm still going to add some branches as well. So I got all my circles done, and then I'm going to get out my gold paint marker and do some different phases of the moon. And I tried to switch up the phases of the moon as well. That way a lot of them had gold in them, and there weren't too many new moons, I should say. So then, like I said, just as before in the last layout, I'm going to draw some branches. I tried to make them go behind the different moons, etc. So I'm using, I believe, a 0.1 pigment liner. I like drawing the branches with a thinner marker. I think it looks nice. And then I'm going to use a thicker marker, I believe a 0.5 pigment liner, to do those thick numerical days of the week as well. And then I'm going to add my same trackers as before, but just it looks a little bit differently since I did a horizontal line instead of some vertical boxes. So I'm just adding in my daily tasks and my bar graphs for my sleep and mood and my to-do list. And finally, for my last layout, I'm basically just copying my first weekly layout again, but just skipping the blue gel pen numerical numbers and sticking with what I did for the rest of my themes, which is that thicker pigment liner. So I'm just drawing all of my boxes, putting in my circles to do the different phases of the moon, etc. And as you can tell, I lay out all of my weekly layouts at the same time. This isn't the normal bullet journal method. You are supposed to just do it daily, or a lot of people will do it every week. Just sit down and make your weekly layout for that week. But just for me and my schedule, I like doing it all together at once, and that's what works best for me. So just it's trial and error. Just figure out what works best for you, and it might take a while too, especially if you're new to bullet journal. It really is trial and error, so don't give up. If you think bullet journal isn't working for you, you will get there. You just need to figure out what you can add or remove to make it work best for you. So I just filled in all of my circles with that gold paint marker. The paint marker did kind of bleed through a little bit just because, like I said, this is meant for paint, but I believe that marker is kind of an oil paint, so some of the oil seeped through a bit. And then I'm just adding in some branches so a little bit different than the first week. This actually might be my favorite layout just because I added the branches in along with the moon phases here. So I added in those branches, which turned out really nice, and then I'm just going to use my 0.5 liner to add in the numerical numbers as well. And that's it for my March bullet journal setup. So here's just some pictures of every page. I wanted to stray away from the typical green layout. A lot of people always do plants and different green themes for March because they just associate March with green. So I tried to do a different color scheme here, and I do really like how it turned out. Yeah, some of my things bled through the pages, but that's okay. Overall, this is probably one of my favorite setups in a while just because I do really like gold accents. So let me know what your favorite page was in the comments below, and let me know what other themes you would like to see in the future.